Half Shell Oyster House offers happy hour at the bar and throughout the restaurant every day from 3 to 6 p.m. Happy hour includes $2 off all glasses of wine, liquor, martinis, mixed drinks, and draft beer, $2.50 on all domestic bottled beer, and $3.50 on all craft bottled beer. So come on out to Half Shell Oyster House, located at 115 Lower Park Cove, Suite 105, Flowood, Mississippi 39232, or you can give them a call at 769-257-7586. And hey, tell them Sonia sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey, y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Please welcome back co-host of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Charles Bishop. And please welcome former band members of the Jackson State University Sonic Boom of the South, Todd Crenshaw and James Wesby.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for having me, having us.
Good. That's
Doing
good.
very well. Thank you for having us. Looking forward.
Awesome. So I'm going to let Charles get into some stuff. But before we start, I was talking to Todd before we came on, and he was telling me he's originally from Alabama. And I asked, how did he bypass going to Alabama State or Alabama A&M and come into Jackson State? You want to share that with us, Todd?
I sure can. The only people I knew that marched in bands, they had gone to Alabama State, Alabama A&M, possibly Tuskegee. Even my pastor had gone to Alabama A&M or Alabama State, actually. And so I went to homecoming 1990 with Carl Cunningham, great friend of both of ours. And like I was saying before, the first thing I saw were the J sets and the pom-poms and the tuba dogs, and I was stricken. I mean, just by the crowd, the energy. And at that time, I had the only schools that I applied to was Florida A&M and Stillman College. And when I got home, I knew that Jackson State was the school for me.
Wow.
I was a great trumpet player. My band director, the only school he wanted me to go to was Southern Miss. I was core style, and that's the only thing he wanted me to do. Mm-hmm. But then with the help of Carl Cunningham and his parents, I knew that Jackson State was the school for me. And so, went there 1991, was Crab 91, and James, one of my Crab brothers. And there we are. So
that's awesome.
Jackson State. Yes, beautiful story.
That's, I was just very curious as how you got there, and the J sets was a determining factor. Yeah, that was the first thing he said. He was like, the J sets. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Val.
So James, same question for you. How did you end up at Jackson State?
That's a funny story because I got accepted to Alabama State, and I was on my way to Alabama State. A lot of people didn't know that. But there was a young man named Clyde Terry, and I was coming back from from Chicago, visiting my father. Mm-hmm. And the day of the band camp, I had no intentions of marching in a band. But funny story, he came to my house, he packed up all my clothes, and he said, "You're gonna." He drove me to the band camp, and I signed up, and they cut a T in my head, and I was in percussion WT, and the beginning, of the story of J-Dub. But I was headed to Alabama State, but if it wasn't for Clyde Terry picking me up and throwing me in band camp, I probably wouldn't have never played in Boom.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It was meant for both of you all to be there. So, and you did some amazing things while you were there. And Charles, I'm gonna let you take over, because I was a music major at Jackson State. I was orchestra, played violin, and I was a voice major. But these are true, and I love the Boom.
but these are true band heads. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just, Charles amazes me. He was not in music, but he loves it's we have so many conversations about music. He loves music and he loves the boom. So Charles, I'm gonna let you take over.
No doubt. I mean, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you guys on, because we've had many conversations with regards to the state of the union, if you will, with HBCU marching bands. And I always appreciate you guys' intellectualism and your thought processes with regards to how you look at not just, SWAC bands, but you look at the whole HBCU band environment. And it brought up a unique situation where we could come and talk about it, because we had this first ever ESPN Band of the Year competition, which, I had the opportunity to attend this past weekend at the Celebration Bowl. It was the event leading up to the game itself, which was this past weekend. But you had four bands. You had representing the mid-major or Virginia State and Florida Memorial, and then the major division, Division One, if you will, North Carolina A&T and Sonic Boom, South Jackson State University. All great bands in their own right. And we talked a little bit off camera in regards to what you guys saw in this competition. And I wanted to bring you on because you guys give such a unique perspective, and I thought it would be great, especially with the platform that Sonya has with regards to She Say Sports. So I wanted to just jump right into it. North Carolina A&T, of course, they won the Band of the Year competition, but one can make an argument that the Sonic Boom of the South, they won in the court of public opinion. And I just wanted to, start off by sort of getting you guys understanding of the way this thing was judged, because obviously, we have a winner, but there's a court of public opinion, and that's the reason why we have this show tonight. But it was a very interesting, and I made a point. I attended the press conference prior to the Band of the Year competition, and one of the questions that I did ask, was, there's a statement in boxing parlance that styles make fights. And I wanted to know whether this was this competition, it's not a battle of the bands, and they made it a point for everybody to understand that this was not a battle of the bands. This was the Band of the Year competition. But I said, in regards to styles, how would this competition be judged in regards to, you have a style that you see in one conference, being the SWAC, and a style that you see in another conference, being the MEAC, which North Carolina A&T was once a part of. But I wanted to get you guys, understanding of what it is that you saw first and foremost with regards to North Carolina A&T's performance and Jackson State's performance. And I'll start with you, Jay.
Well, when you talk about styles, you got to take in consideration, the goal for each band, to me, and HBCU, is to have their own identity. And for Jackson State, our identity is basically surrounding entertainment. Everything you see is based upon entertainment. We have the mascot dancing, we have the J-sets, the drum majors. Back when I was marching, we had fireworks, we had all types of things to wow the crowd. And this because the competition of who we had in the SWAC. You talk about Southern, they had that wow factor of, high march and high knee lift and high intensive playing, musicianship. When you talk about the West versus the East, the styles are very different. Our style is surrounded by, the swing and sway, the music part about it. And then when you talk about the East, because they don't see each other as much. And what I meant by that is halftime show, it's nothing abnormal to see FAMU, have a whole entire halftime show, because you don't have people like Howard traveling down to FAMU. For us, probably about 80% of our engagements with bands are going to travel. You're going to have Grambling coming to us coming to Grambling, us coming. So our competition is more fierce. And then we had, have to categorize certain things that what the crowd, like you said, the crowd public opinion, what they enjoy over the period of time. Our halftime show have condensed up to about 7 minutes when it was probably about 12 or 13. So our halftime show is not probably as a priority as you will see like Hampton, Norfolk, Howard, because they're not visiting each other all the time. So our whole competition and style is starting when we blow off that whistle and the announcer says, coming all the way from the South, it's the sonic boom of the South. Then that's when the competition starts. When you're marching inside, how is that portrayed? How are you sitting down doing 0 quarter? Then the halftime show is only one category out of about 5 categories as we as a public judge it. But when you see it from the east side, the halftime show is a priority to them because they're not matching up with bands in front of them because they don't travel as much. And that's why I see where our styles are different from the West with the SWAC and the MEAC from the East.
Todd, let me ask you the same question. I mean, yeah. The nuance between and James brings up something. He talks about the regionality with regards to bands that you see along the East Coast, HBCU bands you see along the East Coast versus the bands that you see along the South. Expound on the nuances.
Well, before I go there, you brought up public opinion, and I wanted to touch on that. Even leading up to, the first time the three of us spoke, we had already crowned the winner of as they said, the showcase. Okay, right. So I remember when the videos came out, I didn't even watch North Carolina A&T because I didn't see how anyone was going to beat someone that I was already putting at the altar to just be crowned. And so the public opinion was Jack State all year was the band of the year, had knocked off Southern, had knocked off Texas Southern, knocked off everyone. Even their halftime shows were better than anything I'd seen, creative, all that drill. And so public opinion was they were already crowned. So that's public opinion. I didn't even the voting. That's I don't even know who's voting. So that's something totally different. Styles. I saw the video, Charles, of you asking those questions and that panel, and they had responses and answers. And he said that the directors agreed upon the criteria. Okay. And those band directors, now I don't know how true this could be. Band directors agreed upon the criteria. Therefore, they agreed upon, I guess if they agreed upon the criteria, then they're going to perform. Well, if you're already voted in to show up in Atlanta, you're not going to just stay home because you don't agree upon the criteria. It's too late now. Right. If this is what so when was this criteria brought forward or presented? So I don't understand all that. And so as a crowd, if I had been there, I would have never known about the criteria. You're just watching the bands from the lens that you've always watched bands from. Music, when they say musicality, is that the drill, the ballad? I know I have the ears for musicality, and they were talking about blend and balance. And I love what Sonya was saying as a band head. You can define band head as someone who marched in the band, or as Sonya's voice. She's a band head. She appreciates band, or someone who's maybe their child is in the band, so now they're a band head. So that you get into a whole argument about who can be a band head and who can't, who can define arpeggio versus dynamics versus intonation, chords. So if you can't define those words of music theory, then you're not a band head. Styles, I love that when you brought that up, Charles, about styles make fights. And so depending upon the criteria, if drum majors is a part of it, besides the your James, what would you call your how you when you come out? Is that your salute? James there.
No, say that one more time, Todd. I apologize.
With the drum majors, when you come out, is that considered your salute?
Correct.
Okay, so that's salute. So is that points for your salute, how creative you are with that, or do you get extra points for directing the band? Like if that is, then wow, okay, I've seen James direct me when I was in the band. So I know drum majors that can direct bands, but if that's not something that your director has had you do, then are you deducted for not directing the band? I mean, it just the more I've watched both shows probably 4 times in the last 2 days. Some through, I mean, just being very, 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 I guess, trying to be objective, and looking at the criteria for the first time. So if
And
that's what the
before you cut off, I want to harp on what Todd just said. You know, those criteria that he named, that, I mean, who is sitting down in the in the audience looking at
that's another part.
I mean, do you have a recorder and somebody walking in the band like we did in high school and say, oh, that drum major didn't do that, he marked a 4 out of 5, or
I believe, James, I believe so, because if you listen to the panel, they said with all the voting or the different polls.
But that's not HBCU. Who does that?
Let me just say this. They said with all the polls that they had, he could not find one, or they could not. I don't know about they, or they could not. I'll say they could not find one in which they were being critiqued or evaluated by their peers, meaning directors. So if this is what directors, or Dr. Little and Dr. Simmons, I think he's a doctor, I don't know, at Texas Southern, if they agree upon this, that's what we'll have. If not, the crowd or band heads, they're like, I don't want this. This sounds like almost like a band consortium, or where you go to be around your peers or colleagues to be evaluated. Hey, come evaluate my concert band, and that's what this is, or my marching band, if that's what this is. Now, if I want to attend this, then I know what I'm going to attend.
Well, let me ask this question, and this is, I guess I don't consider myself a band head, but by your criteria, Todd, I guess I would be. I mean, I enjoy the bands, but part of it is I've grown up within this culture, so I have 40 years of watching band halftime shows and things of that nature. But just from and I made the point to watch this competition not with quote unquote swag eyes. And I can see North Carolina A&T, they're superbly theatrical. You know, there's a lot going on. They feature a drum line. They feature the flags, feature the majorettes that transition seamlessly from flags to back to dancing. And one of the questions that I had that I posed to you guys was, you know, does not a swag band have enough metrics to basically to stand up to these East Coast bands that feature drum lines? Because I've been going to, you know, halftime shows for the majority of my life. The only swag band that kind of features a drum line is Prairie View. So it's like, how do you judge a swag band?
So
I mean, go ahead, Sonia.
No, real quick, I want to ask this because Todd, you mentioned earlier, and you know, I think all of you have mentioned that it was a criteria. So did not Jackson State get the criteria? And if so, why didn't they try to fit into the criteria in order to really compete?
Right. Okay, I guess the criteria for percussion, if you don't feature your, I guess, Warren Thunder, that is not, wow, James, I guess you were Warren Thunder. And I think they attempted to present them in a way is so out of their lane. And I guess you would have to, like, going into next year, if this is what they want to do. Now, James, you speak to the Warren Thunder and what that would look like.
To your point, it cannot be done. I go back to the identity of each band. Let them be who they are. You know, you just can't go all of a sudden, this is what I am accustomed to all my life. And then all of a sudden, because of this competition, I want you to alter it. It's not going to be like that. And it's not going to look clean. is going to
Right.
look like it looked. Jackson
Right.
State did a phenomenal job.
A phenomenal
And that
job.
halftime show would have killed any SWAC band at any time. But because we put these high criterias on there, they still didn't win. I think that's bull to me. And I don't like it. And I think each band, if that's Grambling, if that's Morehouse,
Right.
if that's, let them be who they are and let the public judge them of their identity of what they're best of.
But the
Because
point
the guy
was
said
made.
for Southern, Charles, the guy I forgot who I guess, I don't know if he was a chair, but he said, because if we bring Southern, we want Southern to be Southern.
Yes.
No, you don't. Because how can you want Southern to be Southern when there's no way they're going to feature their drum line. Their drum major is going to come out, and I want Southern's drum major to do the exact thing that they've done 30 years. He comes out, does a back bend, and gets out the way. That is what we want to see. So for him to say they want Southern to be Southern, yet and still check all these boxes, that's not true. Now, what is Southern going to go get a auxiliary besides dancing dolls?
To that point, Todd, what's the other auxiliary? You have J sets. We don't have flags. I mean, the SWAC, probably 60-70% of SWAC.
Some years we've had batons. Some years we've had a twirler, and if we had the twirler from our day, the gentleman, I forgot his name. Now that was a wow effect. What was the gentleman that would have?
I forgot his name.
Yeah, but to your point, and I think the larger point that you're trying to make, and this was the question I was asking is, if there are 5 to 6 different metrics or whatever the case might be, I particularly don't think SWAC bands, can hit those buttons the way that other bands do that feature X, Y, Z, things of that nature. And that's just, and of course it's opinion, but I think that goes back to some of the, how we looked at how this competition was judged. Because again, like I said, and you mentioned it, James, Boom had a phenomenal performance, but will a SWAC band ever measure up with regards to how this thing needs to, move forward? So,
in North Carolina A&T, hats off to them. They do this year round. They travel around the country, if not internationally, doing band competition. That's why they feature. This is a walk in the park to them, because they feature all of this, like you said, this theme, or then bring the percussion. But not to take anything away from them. If they won, they won. But I don't think it was measured up, or it was balanced. And these guys do band competition throughout the year. Jackson State do not. Any SWAC band, they do not go around the country doing band competitions.
Let me ask you guys this question, man. I'm gonna transition from here. When you look at it with the bulk of performances that are on social media now, how hard is it to be creative for bands week in, week out?
Not hard at all.
Not hard at all. Even though everybody can see everybody's a performance week in, week out, there once was a time, where you would not see Texas Southern's performance until they came to your campus.
Charles, James and James is, James and I we're step captains and all that, and we talk about it even today. I wouldn't say not hard at all. It's a challenge, but right now he and I we start talking about how we would target certain schools right now. Southern, he and I could get off this right now and start talking about what we would do and how we would go at. As soon as A&T, I was like, okay, I know what I would do. I know just how you would go. I know, and we were talking about that right off the bat. I was like, no, it can't be neutral. Let's go there. You have to be on their field. Take this to them. Right. The Rattlers, FAMU. I already know exactly how to go. And some of it, that's part of the band culture is the swag. Now, I'm just gonna say swag because we like to be petty, and part of that is that's part of what the swag does during a halftime show is whoever your competition is, because it's not a showcase. Part of that show is for the wow factor, being creative, is to, and that's part of the nuance, is to take something about your opponent, and that's why James and I sometimes agree, is when you say how hard is it, you have to be strategic and think about it. You just think about your opponent. What is it about them that their fans love or that you don't care for? You just take something that will make their fans boo you, like, Oh no, they didn't. I can't believe they did that to us. And that's what you do. And then you just turn it on them and flip it. That's and so that's what you do. So if it's FAMU, you just take some notes on them. You may give James Southern, take some ideas. What do you think about Southern? I got it. Now you don't have it all perfected, but you have a team thinking about them. Okay, what about homecoming? That's easy. Homecoming, that's an easy one. And then you just work through it like that. So that's the wow. And then you just iron out all your thoughts and your ideas in the dance routine. Dance can change because some they get some of those dance routines from TikTok. I don't know. I'm not a dancer, but I'm talking about like ideas and theme. You can start thinking way in advance to get those things together. And that's what when James says like, no, it's not that hard. It's just thinking and it form like okay, so you're not copying people. You start thinking, what are we trying to do? Who are we? And who are they? What are we trying to do? And how do we keep them off balance? And that's how you keep people following you.
James, let me follow up to that. And the kind of the follow up question to that is there a lot of podcasts that are dedicated towards essentially kind of critiquing performances week in, week out. So my question is, are we inadvertently kind of killing the culture when we nitpick things week in, week out?
No, I believe going back to the original question, then addressing what you just brought up, creativity it's a strategy. I know Todd and I will talk and say, okay, what would you do if we were matching Southern this year the way they are at this time? Going back to the critique every like podcast, I don't see a lot of podcasts critiquing halftime shows. I don't see a lot of that.
Not at all. Not at all.
So you got to go back, Charles, of what I was saying before. We're at a point that band battles right now is about 0 and fifth quarter. Solely because we don't have that. Everybody knows that's not fair when we get on there and only have 7 minutes to do a show. You can be creative, but it's not going to weigh whether or not they win the battle. What's going to be the battle is 0 quarter, halftime, and then fifth quarter. So when you have podcasts, they're actually critiquing the musicality of both bands than anything from a halftime show. That's why I go back to let's not have a band competition solely by the halftime show. Those guys were supposed to battle like they were starting to. North Carolina versus Jackson State, Florida Memorial versus Virginia, at least 4 rounds in going back and forth. Then weigh that with the halftime show and you would have saw a different result, a different outcome. Now, when you talk about creativity, I remember back in 1990, Jackson State went to Southern. We talk creativity. Went there and started playing "Do What You Want." Bum bum ba dum 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 dum.
Destroyed them.
And the crowd couldn't help. Both sides is to wave and say, "There you go, you got my song." Dun 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 dun. And that's what we're talking about. It's not hard. It's just that a lack of creativity, a lack of strategy, and that's what's going on with band programs now.
Transition a little bit. There's a lot of band content out on social media. From you guys' perspective, is there a way for band programs to monetize this content?
Oh, Charles, that's a hard one. I know you was talking about that even with, I think you was talking about that last year, and I was dealing with schools and football, and that's a challenging one. I don't know, Charles. I don't know. I mean,
expound a little bit more when you said.
You mean like each?
Talking about
would that be each school?
The program or?
Well, I mean, obviously we know YouTube pays for the content that is produced on a particular channel or whatever the case might be. But I was just curious if bands put out so much content and they have no way to monetize that content for to help support that band program. And I was curious if you guys had any thoughts or if there was you had heard anything within the band community with regards to how does Virginia State, how does Texas Southern, how do they take the content that they're producing on their YouTube channel and they can monetize it, or is it even possible?
I don't think it's possible, but it does bring out visibility for recruitment purpose, and maybe the institution can see the draw and devote money to that program, like Jackson State and Southern. They know that's a big recruitment type situation for the entire school. Being exposed a little bit more, social media has given a lot of bands that have not been exposed that exposure to say, that was my first time ever seeing Florida Memorial. Now you look at them again, and that may be a key recruitment for them to gain some money to bring more students to that program. But to monetize every content you see on social media, that's going to be very hard.
So it's not so much money monetization, but visibility. That would be the asset. I got you. No problem.
Yeah.
I mean, only if a band director was going to allow, like if there was, and not saying this is going to happen, but if there was like some type of subscription that I could pay and the JSU media team was allowing me to have access to what was going on with the boom. And eventually you get into, I don't know how many times they would allow us to see
behind the scenes,
the music program, and then the Christmas concert happened, or jazz ensemble, then all of a sudden high school day. And I mean, I don't know how that would happen, but if I was able to view music within not just the band, but the band was something I really want to see, but anything with the music program, if that's what Dr. Little and I don't know who the chairperson is, wanted, that is a possibility. Possibly, I don't know.
Sure. Well, they also can monetize a little on views, depending on how many views. Like if Jackson State or like you said, Dr. Little, they have an actual YouTube page, and the viewership, if it's getting 1 million views they can get money from that. So that's possibly the only way they will be able to get it from that way. But that is a good idea if they could do that.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it, Simon. Yeah. So,
and Todd, James, I'm gonna start with you with this one. Like when you first came to Jackson State, you and Todd, you were on campus 2 weeks before school even started because you were at practice. You guys had practice every day. You were there at practice sometimes till 1 and 2 o'clock in the night. Am I right?
Correct.
You're there all the time. You're at band practice. You're doing the games, basketball games, football games, parades. You're doing all this different stuff. Could you say that bandsmen are sort of athletes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to your point, I don't think we get that. When you think of bandsmen or people who march in a band, you don't relate them to athletes at all, or correlate or align them, whatever. But you got to understand, we don't do it to that level. But marching and playing your instrument at the same time and all the things that we do is just right, with that area of getting up, doing PT. Todd would tell you, we didn't get out of practice back in our days till 1 o'clock at night, and then had to go study for a test. And then next thing you know, we, got to do it all over again at 5:30. So it's definitely a wear and tear on your body, and it takes endurance and takes, breathing techniques, all that stuff that goes into marching in a band, and that a lot of people don't take that in consideration. So, yeah.
Hey, James, are you student athletes or are you employees?
Say that again.
Are you student athletes or are you employees?
We're student athletes, and I think we should be considered as student athletes.
Okay, just curious.
So do you think you all should get an NIL deal?
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, and a lot of people not going to like this, but I'm going to say it. The way Jackson State drum majors.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just saying I'm biased. Look,
No, I
Jackson
agree.
State, Jackson
Yeah.
State drum majors should at least get full scholarship ride or whatever the case may be through. That's at least. And if you're highlighting us on a platform that's nationwide, we should get some of that because you are benefiting from the things that we have created back in our days and still alive. When people think of Jackson State, they do think of the best drum majors and J sets or whatever the case may be. And not only that, Sonya, they carving out us and all these high school implementing us. Some people to the point of social media, they would know what we're doing before they even come to Jackson State and always want to be a drum major. And we already know how it looks because we've seen social media. We got millions of likes. One situation that everybody look forward to is the merge, right?
Yeah.
But at the merge, the number one thing they really get the likes and what I'm looking for after they merge is the drum majors. What routine they gonna do this year? And they analyze that, and who so many kids are just like this. What are they doing this year? Because I'm gonna go back and show my group the same routine, and that's gonna be our routine for Get Ready this year. That goes from 1 million to 2 million likes a year.
Wow. And James is actually one of the legendary drum majors from Southern Boone of the South. And I to the point when this man got on the screen, he was standing up in his stance, and I thought he was about to start swaying. And I said, could you sit down, please? I didn't know what was going on. But I love that you guys do the reunion. That's every 5 years? Every
2-3 years.
Okay, every 2 or 3 years. And I want to ask you a question about that. So when you guys, and Todd, you can chime in as well. When I think about this question, I think about Drumline. Remember on Drumline when they had the competition, because it's so many great musicians in the boom, everyone cannot be on the field on Saturday. So did you all have those competitions where you had to compete for your place on the field, Todd?
Yes, you could challenge someone for their spot.
Wow.
That would happen.
Like okay.
And it was fierce.
I think he froze. James, go ahead and talk to Todd is back on.
No, I was saying it was fierce back in the days. I'm not gonna kid. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, because they believed in quantity versus quality. Not to say that doesn't happen nowadays, but back in the days, it was like every week people had to try out for that show.
Wow.
And Southern, if I'm not mistaken, somebody can correct me, they only march a certain amount, period. And they don't go over that because the show was created for that certain amount back in the day. So you had to compete every year. I mean, every week you had to compete.
That's amazing. So, because I know when I saw Drumline back in 2002 at the theaters and I saw them competing, I was like, it reminded me of Jackson State, but I wasn't for sure if y'all did that. I couldn't remember. Because I was in
now the movie, I forgot the name of the movie. What's the movie?
Drumline.
Drumline. It was tidbits that if you are a percussionist or you were in the percussion section, some of the stuff that was way off. If you're doing like mano to mano, you in front of me and we're about to go at it.
Right.
We're not throwing our drums and doing all that stuff. In fact, when Drumline, most percussionists, real true, will let you know that the other, I forgot the drum line that was in front of the featured band really won. If you really look at what they did, the most people would say, oh, they won, not the other team, North Carolina, whoever they were, throwing their drums and cymbals and all that stuff like that. Now, when they turn it up, it's eye to eye. How his hat was here, that's how we go. That's how we roll. But all that throwing that stuff, that's North Carolina A&T. That's what they do.
But
somebody's hating.
Wait a second. I mean, but that's where I talk about styles make fights. That sort of something plays into the crowd. Like I said, that's not an element that we see within SWAC.
Yeah, that's true.
Band, so.
And I'm unbiased. And everybody that asked me, I would say North Carolina A&T Cold Steel is the best drum section in HBCU. Period.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Todd, you froze on us. You want to go ahead and add your part? What's your thoughts?
About which part? I missed the whole question.
Competition. I was talking about did you have to compete for your
Oh, not me. No.
Okay.
No, not at all. No, but I was saying with the challenges, initially freshmen were frightened or scared to challenge an upperclassman for their spot. Mm-hmm. So if they challenged anyone, they would challenge a fellow crab. But there was instances where they would challenge an upperclassman. I loved it, especially when I became an upperclassman. I love to see upperclassmen get challenged because it made them sharpen their tool or sharpen their axe. And then there was some upperclassmen I wanted off the field anyway.
Well, okay.
So you got the right one. I mean,
Todd was good. He was great, man.
Yeah, no, it was upperclassmen that was skating. I wanted more. Yeah, sharpen the axe. I mean, you can just get it. You can just. I mean, you don't need it. I mean, some of these small, like you saw Florida Memorial, small. I love trumpets, smaller trumpet section, but it causes each person to have to play, and you have to breathe through. I mean, you can't take moments off, and if you only have 19 trumpets, everyone has to push, and you have to play second, third, first. You can't just just wait until one big note. You have to play, and that's one thing you will see with the smaller bands. And I know the MEAC has a number, not just the MEAC, SEAC, some of the smaller conferences, and you find a number of quality players because they have to carry entire sections and they have to play together.
Right.
That's one thing that I enjoy watching because you can't just blend in and hide. Yeah, you could. Oh yeah, you can't hide in there.
And Charles, and Sonia and Charles, can I bring this back up? The National Band of the Year Championship is huge to me. I like the idea. We're nitpicking about a couple of things, the criteria. But to me, I feel like now bands have an opportunity to look forward to something at the end of the year. So the entire season will be more so, how can I get to Atlanta that last weekend for the Celebration Bowl? There are going to be a lot of people after Jackson State throat because you have people on this side that want to be in that same position and vice versa. And it's great because now you can highlight other small bands that Todd is talking about, and it's a win-win for a lot of people. Now, the Celebration Bowl, think about that being Atlanta with all HBCUs celebrating each other. You have the best of the football teams and you have best of the bands. I think this is a wonderful idea. I think it should get bigger. I think it needs to be more sponsorships, but I also believe that it should be the who you are type format, not being overly critique of certain things that doesn't, amount to anything. And it should be a fifth quarter with rounds involved of playing back to back to each other.
So do you think it should be SWAC versus SWAC with in the band of the year and then
that's a good
MEAC?
point.
Or do you think SWAC schools can put a show together just for that at the end of the year? Do you think they could do that? Or I know they can do it, but do they have time? That's the question.
I think you won't see, to me, I don't think you'll have a battle of the bands unless you have in-season playoffs like Crankfest or Crankfest with Southern. You'll have those one-off that at the end of the season, people will tell you who is the best band that year without, going and doing other competition, whether it's the season or whether you have these one-offs, like Battle of the Bands within the season or Crankfest or whatever, both sides. And then at the end of the year, people already would say, oh, Jack State got that this year, or Southern got that, or Grambling, it was Grambling's year. I think that's my opinion, that they would probably know at the end of the season who was the best band based upon people's opinion throughout the season.
I want us to win at the ESPN Band. I want us to be able. I really want us to be able to compete in that. I don't know how we'll be able to, like you say, get a 10-minute show. I don't know. I mean, I didn't see it, but I've heard. I don't know. So
and this nastiness, boy, that North Carolina A&T is saying about Jackson State right now is just awful. Like they never won anything in their entire life. So.
I think they're because, like you said, the SWAC, we're real petty, and
we are.
Then FAMU, they're learning. This is they are learning that you got to get with it. I mean, it's just, but I don't even want to talk about that because that's a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole nother can of worms. But guys, Charles, did you have anything else before?
No, I really appreciate you guys coming on and providing your thought processes. Like I said, I'm sure this Band of the Year competition will continue to generate conversation. But I know that we've talked extensively about sort of the band environment, the state of the band. And I wanted to bring you guys on to get your ideas in that regards, because you guys bring, I think, you guys got a podcast and they're sitting around somewhere. If you just put it out there.
Well, I'm going to say this though, because Charles, we've talked about this. We've been threatening to do something like this for quite some time, but maybe next season, football season, y'all need to come on once a month and just kind of, like critique some of the band shows that's been going on, within the season. What do you think, Charles? I think that would be really, really cool.
They bring an intellectual approach to it. I like it.
Yeah. So we'll talk. I mean, if you all are interested, I think that would be really cool. But before we go, I play a game that's called You Can Get With This or You Can Get With That. And what that is, it's a way for the listeners and myself to get to know the guest better. I'll ask you a few questions and you choose the one that best fits you. And no answer is wrong. And this is the Christmas edition. Charles, you don't have to get in if you don't want to. You get on mine.
I'll just sit back and watch.
So, and either or you can answer, both of y'all can answer.
Okay.
Would you prefer Christmas Day just lying in bed, not doing anything, or being an early riser and opening presents?
Lying in bed with my wife.
Definitely lying in bed.
Okay, Todd. Just kidding.
That's a PG show.
I don't have any babies. I don't have any babies.
Lying in bed with my wife.
You got to edit that out, man.
It's a blessing. No, trust me, that's a beautiful Christmas day. Do you prefer hosting Christmas or visiting others?
Oh, definitely hosting on myself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? So you like decorating, getting the place ready, getting people at the house and everything? I do too.
I love that.
That's cool. Christmas with family or Christmas with friends?
Family.
Man, no both in between. Family would be.
I think it'd be a blessing to have both.
Yeah, I love both.
Okay. Do you prefer dressing up for Christmas or PJs all day? Well, y'all hosting, so you can't have on your PJs.
Oh, true.
We have a PJ party. What you talking about?
I like it. You open gifts one by one or open gifts at the same time?
One by
one.
One
by one.
One by one, okay.
See the expression.
Yeah. Presents before dinner or presents after dinner?
Before.
Well, look, Sean's gonna laugh. Well, we don't do our presents until after we sing "Happy Birthday" to Jesus.
Hey,
It's not about you. Do you guys do not sing to Jesus for his birthday? Oh my God!
we don't sing, but we pray.
I thank you, Todd. Look at Charles.
Charles, like, whatever.
Traditional Christmas dinner or whatever takes your fancy.
Non-traditional here.
So what are y'all eating? What are y'all eating Christmas Day, James?
We doing Italian. We have a theme every year. This year is Italian.
That's our theme as well. Todd?
Traditional.
Traditional. So you're doing traditional Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yes.
So no chillers and hog maw this year, huh?
Exactly. That's why I don't go to his house during Christmas. It's stinking.
We'll change it up for you.
Y'all watching Christmas Day TV and movies or Christmas Day games?
Movies, probably.
What
Yeah,
movies are y'all watching?
Movies. My wife, she always does the Hallmark.
You know what? I like good black old school movies.
Oh, we're already doing those. That leads up to it, but on the day
I
of it,
just
it's
told
Hallmark.
Charles, TV Wanna BT got some amazing black Christmas movies.
That's right.
He come out. See, look at him. Dude, when I say they're up to par. They're a really, really good movie. You're missing out, buddy. You're missing
Brown
out.
Sugar. And then we'll watch probably Martin throughout the day if he come
Brown
on.
Sugar's not a Christmas movie, James.
Brown
Oh,
Sugar. That's a Christmas movie.
Come on.
Okay. I don't remember. That's one of my favorites, but okay. So what are y'all favorite Christmas movies? Elf, National
Christmas
Lampoon
Story, no
Vacation,
doubt.
Christmas Story.
Oh my God, the Christmas Story.
Story.
Word for word.
National Lampoon Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
The 25,000 lights on his house. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Friday After Next.
Right.
With Ricky Smiley as the ghetto Santa Claus.
That's corny. I don't like it.
That's a good one.
What about old school? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the
Classic.
Snowman.
Classic.
Rudolph was on last Saturday. Yeah.
The what's the one with the dentist, the Misfits and all them? You know,
Little Shop of Horror.
no.
Whoa. But that's not it. No. I'm not sure. Last one, Everyone Stays Over. Peace and Quiet Overnight.
Well, we don't have a choice. We got company, so somebody has to stay over all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Todd?
No. No.
Oh, I forgot. Because he going to be in the bed with his wife.
Right.
Guys, thank you so much for joining
Thank
me.
you.
I've had a great time. Charles, tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media as well as listen to your show.
No doubt. You can follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Of course, you can catch me Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. 7 p.m. on Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And you can also catch me doing some work with Swag Digital.
Yes. And hey guys, you can follow me on She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube page, She Say Sports. Well, that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia, She Say Sports. Merry Christmas, everyone.